Namaste, sir. I'm Samskriti, and this is Suhan, and we both are going to interview you today. We are very curious to know, your interests and just all about your life. So we have made a questionnaire just to cover the most of the part. Yeah. So to begin with, sir, could you please share with us how your childhood and the environment and the atmosphere you were raised in shape your interest in running and writing?
My childhood?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in a very verbal family. My father especially, he had a very keen sense of language, grammar. He taught us the rules of grammar before our teachers in school taught them to us. He and my mother both, they knew some other languages. My mother had studied French. My father had studied Latin and German. Also, they were very good at it from an early age at encouraging us children to write thank you notes when we had somebody did something for us, gave us a present or something. Beyond that, I was in schools where the teachers gave us enough writing assignments, so I had plenty of practice. And my parents and my grandparents read books to us, so we developed an ear for language and for good writing early on.
Sir, and what about running?
What about what?
Running.
Running?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was not very good in ball sports. I was usually one of the last people chosen for the team in baseball or basketball. I liked basketball and baseball, but I discovered that ball sports require skill, but running, you just run. And I discovered that I could run faster than my best friend, who was a very athletic person. He could throw farther than I could. He could shoot basketball better, but I could run faster than he could. And so I liked that. And the older I got, the more I discovered I liked it, and I would go for longer and longer runs, and I ran a little bit at university and then much more after that.
Namaste, sir. So this is my first question for you. Since you have been writing for so many decades now, in what ways has your writing style or focus evolved over the years?
Well, that's a very good question. I think the best thing I can say is that I keep learning more and more about how to do it. I'm still trying to learn how to use fewer words to say something. I have developed more confidence. You know what writer's block is. You have to write something, yeah. and you just can't think of anything. I had that problem in college all the time. After a while, I wrote so many things where basically the message was, we don't care how beautiful it is. It has to be finished now. And so I learned to write under pressure, and now if I have to write something, I know I can write it.
So now, as we noticed that our writing styles change over the years, right? So what difference did you notice between your generation and the current generation in terms of writing?
I don't know. It's difficult to generalize about that, because I think many of the key elements of what makes writing good writing have not changed in my lifetime. The subjects might be different. Students, people your age, are increasingly accustomed to writing in very short social media things. But my university students, if anything, they just got better and better as the years passed. And I think that was because the schooling in Massachusetts, where I live, was getting better. And also because more students were applying to university, so the university had a larger pool to choose from, and they picked stronger students. But that's the best answer I can give you. I don't think the most important things about writing have changed that much in the time.
Were there any interests or activities you loved deeply but chose not to pursue them long term, and how did you arrive at that decision?
I always liked math and science in school, and up through 12th grade, I considered myself a better math student than anything else, any other subject. But when I got to the university, that changed for a number of reasons. One was that the English faculty was much more exciting to me than the math faculty. Another was that I was good in math, but the students who had come there to be really serious about math knew much more than I did, and so I wasn't sure I could catch up with them. So that's one. What else? I think that's probably the most significant thing. I did spend a lot of time in high school involved in theater, in acting and plays, and I haven't done that in a long time.
So now, what is your comfort genre as a reader? Genre, like the type of books.
My comfort genre as a reader?
Yeah.
Almost anything. I'm interested in how anybody who writes approaches the process and what the result is. But I think what I am most interested in reading is nonfiction. I read novels, but I think most of all I want to read about history and contemporary science, economics, the natural world. I never was very interested in history in high school, but I've become very interested as a reader now.
So since we are at the point of reading books and all, is there any specific book that you would like all the youth to read just to have a better mindset, to change the perspective?
I think the greatest book I ever read, and it's pretty long, is Don Quixote. Have you ever heard of it?
Not at all.
Don Quixote, it's spelled DonQuixote. It was written in the 16th century by a Spanish writer named Miguel de Cervantes, who lived exactly the same time as Shakespeare. But of course he wrote in Spanish.
Yeah.
And I do not read Spanish. I have read this book twice in English, and I am going to read it again, at least one more time. It is long, comical, fabulous, and I've never read anything that I thought was more exciting.
We'll make sure to read that one day, sir.
You'll have to find it. You can find translations of it in English easily.
Sir, and which genre do you think is the most difficult one to write?
The what?
The most difficult one to write.
The most difficult
What genre?
genre to write?
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends. There are a lot of answers I could give. I don't think of myself as a skilled poet. I have written some poems. Do I think it's difficult to write poetry? I don't know. I guess it is. It's what's difficult is it's hard for me to decide whether a poem I've written is any good. Whereas if I write prose, I can come to the end of it and say, yes, that's what I wanted to say, or no, it isn't. Beyond that, I think that conventional academic writing of the very professional sort, when you're writing about research projects in science, psychology, anything.
Okay, sir, this is Another question that I wanted to ask you for a long time. How did the thought of hiking the Appalachian Trail even cross your mind?
Ah, oh, well, I like the woods. I like to walk. And when I was 13 years old, three friends of mine and I went to a part of the trail near where we lived, and we walked on it for 2 days. And somebody pointed out, this trail goes all the way from 200 miles south of here to 2,000 miles north of here. And I thought, oh, somebody could walk all the way from this part of America to this part of America. That's interesting. I was 13 years old.
Before you actually did that, didn't the enormity of the thought intimidate you? Like the enormity
No.
did not.
I had a lot of experience from the time I was 11 years old. I had a lot of experience hiking and camping in the woods. I was in Boy Scouts, and actually my father was the Boy Scout leader. He was very good, and we spent a lot of time in the outdoors. I knew I could do it. I was confident.
Sir, do you see similarities between helping students find their voice in writing and helping runners find their stride?
Oh, that's a very good question. Certainly, there's a parallel because people learn different ways. People learn to read and write different ways. Not everybody's brain works the same way. One student will recognize, can read a word because she has a good sense of the phonetic quality of it. Another can read the word because she just has a good memory and she saw it before and has memorized it. And the same for writing. People discover their writing ability with different kinds of practice. In running, if I get 10 students from the school here and say we're going to have a cross-country team, a running team, I will not necessarily give everybody the same workout. One runner may be capable of running for 10 kilometers without stopping and feel good and want to do more. Another runner may be able to run a quarter of a mile explosively fast and stop and rest, and then do it again and then stop and rest. Different workouts work better for different runners. So yeah, I think that the principle is the same. There are some general things that are true all the time, of which the most important is practice.
Yes.
And there are some things that are different for each individual.
So now, it's just a question that came into my mind now.
Yes.
You have been writing for so many years and you have been running for so many years.
Yes.
If you have to choose one thing, it's either writing or running, what would you choose?
I would refuse to accept the order that I had to choose. But to be frank, my running has become very slow. I could give up running more easily than I could give up writing.
Was there ever a phase in your career where you struggled to deal with so many professions at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
You mean, so I was trying to decide among different things?
No, sir. You were.
You write, you run,
Yeah.
you teach students.
Yeah.
So managing all this at the same time, was it ever
How is your daily routine? How do you manage all of that?
Oh, it's, well, the only hard part is the writing, because the teaching is on a schedule. I know when the class starts, I know when it ends. The running, I do because I have to. I need to, and usually lots of runners like to run early in the morning. Not me, except in India. I run early in the morning in India because it's the only time it's not too hot. But I like to run at the end of the day to blow off steam. Writing is the problem. It's like, did I leave time for writing today? I have to read my students' papers. I have to prepare tomorrow's class. So sometimes the routine breaks down. Usually if I had something to write, I would block out part of one day and I'm just not going to do anything else while I write this. Whereas the teaching and the running are more like regular, more routine.
You work in multiple professions, right? So the skills or experiences from one role, does it enhance your performance in another?
I don't I don't really think of it as different professions. I think of it as my one profession. I teach, I write, I run. And I write about running.
Yes.
I write something, once a month I write something for my newspaper about running. I write for running magazines. And teaching and writing really go together. I'm a better writer because I have been a teacher of writing. And I think you'll find a lot of teachers, including teachers at the university level, who will say, my professional research in chemistry, psychology, music makes me a better teacher, and my teaching makes me a better researcher. Not all professors will say that. Some will say, I just want to do my research. I wish I didn't have to teach too, but I'm not interested in that world. I'm interested in where I can teach. And you learn a lot by teaching.
So now, as we are on the topic of teaching,
Yes.
having taught in multiple countries, how did engaging with students from diverse backgrounds shape your teaching approach and perspective?
Well, I hope it made me more sensitive to different backgrounds that students had. I know, as I was saying earlier, I know that in American culture, it's much more common for students to be encouraged to ask questions in class than it is in England or India. I know that some students are very scared of being called upon or being asked to read something aloud, and I have learned that I have to judge. I don't think that a teacher's job necessarily is to make the students comfortable in class. I think making the students uncomfortable can be good, because if they're uncomfortable, they have to think, what am I going to do? And that can produce creative thinking. And on the other hand, I think it's very important to be respectful of individual students who may be extremely sensitive to something that wouldn't bother anybody else. And I can't always tell what that is. But I would try to let my students know that they could come and speak to me privately to say, this is something I have a problem with.
So, sir, what were your first impressions on Visakhapatnam and when you came for the school year abroad program?
My first impression was that I was very glad to go directly to a good Indian restaurant and eat food with mango pickle in it. Jayashree was concerned that I might not know how strong mango pickle was, but in fact I did know because I'd had it before. And I was delighted to be in this country because I like Indian food very much. My other first impression was it was so hot here that when I went anywhere, I had to carry an extra shirt so that I could step into the washroom and change out of one that was drenched with sweat and put on one that was dry.
Okay.
And I loved seeing all the students in their school uniforms.
Yes, sir. And my last question would be, what advice would you like to give the budding writers and journalists from your experience?
If you write 4 days a week for at least half an hour and preferably 2 hours or 3 hours, and you do that for 10 years, you will become a professional quality writer, guaranteed.
So before ending the interview, I also had this question in my mind. What has it been like teaching both economics and writing? Two fields that seem entirely different. I mean,
That's an understandable question, and part of what we do at the University of Massachusetts is to try to undo that question. to get people out of thinking that way, because writing is not a subject. Economics is a subject, literature is a subject, music is a subject, physics is a subject, math is a subject, art history is a subject. Writing is an activity, and it's communication, and as I said earlier today, it's learning. And there's no reason why, well, there is a reason, but there shouldn't be. People think of, they say, oh, you majored, I majored in English. That was my major subject. I have a master's degree in English. They say, oh, well, you majored in English. That's why you're a good writer. My father was a physicist. He was a very good writer. And most of the scientists that I've known have been good writers. Writing belongs to everybody who needs to communicate. And the only difference between somebody who studies English and somebody who studies physics is that the one who studies English probably reads more really good writing and therefore has a little bit more exposure to it. But I would like to think that if I had majored in geology, for example, I would be the same writer that I am today.
So to end the interview, I mean, we talked about activities like running and writing, like
Yes.
two differently entire things, and subjects like economics and physics. I mean, to be good in life, I mean, to feel good in life, we complete all of this. But a lot of students struggle to manage all of things at once. Any advice you have to give to them?
As a student, you have to understand how to balance what is absolutely required of you and what you have the option of doing. And I think some students are very good at managing a balance of many, many different activities. It suits their style. Some, like, I was good in every subject I took. My sister C- in math, English, history, science, A's in art. And she is a professional artist. What's the problem? None. You know, she was not a good student in most of the subjects, but she knew what she wanted to do, and she kept doing it.
So there's just one more question that I wanted to ask you. You do so many professions, and what were your parents' thoughts about it since your childhood? Did they back you, or like
My
was there
parents decided that they were pretty sure I could do whatever I wanted to, and the biggest problem for me was to decide what that was going to be.
So thank you so much for all these
It was
words.
a great pleasure. I hope I sounded all right and didn't talk too much.
So, I mean, we are just more than honorable to hear your words. I mean, it definitely made a change.
I'm honored to be here, and I like your interview very much. I'm impressed by what I see here. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, sir.
being with us.